Well, so I got a fun one for you.
Yep.
So when talked about last time about our backgrounds, and I went to gunsmithing school, and going to gunsmithing school wasn't the goal, but I used to read these magazines called Gray Sporting Journal, and they would have different articles about hunting, fishing, but some of it was more unique, like unique firearms that were built or people with unique skills. And there was this article about these guys that put together a single shot rifle modeled after like the quickly down under sharps, but they machined it, made custom sights, did custom woodwork. And that magazine I had forever. And I would always look at it and be like, I'd love to know how to do that. I'd love to know how to do that. And so finally, when I was talking with my parents about, hey, this is where I'm going after high school, and then, the gunsmithing conversation came up, I grabbed the magazine and pointed at it and said, this article, I want to learn how to do this. I go to gunsmithing school and I'm there for like a month. And I finally, kind of get comfortable with my instructors. And I go up to them and I say, hey, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for letting me come to the program. But I wanted to share something with you. When I was a kid, I used to read Gray Sporting Journal, and there's this article about this rifle. And I pull the article over and I say, I've been reading this a million times. I would love to learn how to make this. And Alan Lohr was my headmaster machine shop guy. And he looks at me and he looks at the article and he looks at me again and he goes, did you read that article? I went, oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Back and forth, front to back. He goes, hold on one second. Danny, Bob, come over here. And then the barreling instructor, Danny, comes over and the stock making instructor, Bob, comes over and he goes, look at what this kid brought. And I go, what's going on? He goes, did you read this article? I said, yeah. Do you know the names in there? And I go, no. He goes, I'm Alan Lohr. I did all the machining for the sight and the action work. This is Bob Schweda. He did all of the gun stock work. And then this Danny Peterson, and he did the octagonal barrel and did all that. So basically, the guys that I ended up learning from were the people that built the rifle that inspired me in the first place to go to gunsmithing school. So it's like, case in point, this is my own little fairy tale that I got to live when I was 18 to 22. But it's like, just case in point, if you throw it out there, sometimes it comes back in a really positive way, you know?
I just think God's merciful. Like He hears us, so it's just like sometimes we just get blessed beyond like that right there.
It's insane. It's stupid. It's
No,
crazy.
no, come on, Sam. You didn't read the names of the people who did.
I literally, it was like I had read through it, but the names didn't mean anything to me. I
Yeah,
didn't put that together for whatever reason. And then the cherry on top of the whole thing is at one point they did end up bringing that gun in, and I got to look at it and handle it, inspect it. And honestly, I had to leave the room and go cry quietly for a minute in the bathroom. I was like moved, like no, like to an infinite proportion. I was like 18, and like these guys were like, "You're a kid, you can just do what you want with it." I was like, "Oh God." Yeah, I cry over guns. It's one of the things that I do. But yeah, no, I mean that's all real. It's
yeah,
all real. Um,
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's
oh, of course, yeah, yeah.
anyway. But I guess to wrap up the first part of this conversation, about intentionality and just living life intentionally. I guess my encouragement for anybody, for those of you who are listening, just no matter what season of life you're in, whether you're, 20, 50, 70, whatever it is, there's a couple of guys who I respect a ton who are like retired and, I don't have a clue how old they are. They're older than me. They're like Steve is so intentional about like giving and doing and all these things. Like he could just be kicking his feet up playing, watching football and sports or whatever and doing whatever he earned. He's retired. But the guy is like every other day he's doing something for somebody just because he's got the time and wants to be a blessing to other people. And I'm like, I love where he came from, like from his heart about wanting to do that, how he came to that conclusion. It's just like whatever it is, whatever season of life we're in, I just encourage. to take a minute if you haven't already done it and think about the areas that you're just going through life bumbling along versus the areas you're being intentional, and look at the fruit differences in those areas and see what growth might be just right there. And all it takes is just a few thought process changes, write a few things down and do. So I'll just leave it at that I guess the last couple of years have just been huge blessings through my life, and just with health and family and faith and these different areas that got a new level of intentional focus these last couple of years, and the benefits are out of this world. So anyway,
Well, not to switch gears too abruptly, but you do have some, well, one, last year was an exciting year. There was some adventure and stuff that kind of came to fruition out.
this is where we have the word fun written that I have over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about serious stuff for a while, about like life changing stuff, and now we're just going to share about fun stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Go into like, yeah, good, like switch gears a little bit. But you have, and I don't know what you want to talk about first. Last year you did some cool stuff, and then this year you have something like beyond exciting coming up, like a real adventure coming up. And I don't know if you want to talk about what last year was and what this year you hope it to be. I don't, you go first, but you want to talk about some fun stuff that happened outside of work and all this goal setting, business, intentionality stuff?
Well, we've got goals.
We do have goals. I don't want to belittle it, but yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things in life is you do have to have fun. You do have to enjoy. You have to recharge. You have to do things. Not that you spend your whole life focused just on the next fun thing to the next fun thing, because I know a lot of people who just live their entire life for the next party or the next thing, and that's not what I'm, advocating for. But you need to have fun. You need to have outlets. You need to be able to de-stress. There's article after article about how bad stress is for you and the things you need to do to avoid it and this, that, and the other thing. And one of the best things you can do is just be joyful and have fun and do things you enjoy. Like, that's a great stress reliever. And doing it with family or doing it. So like we have, going back to kind of the goal side, like we tried every quarter to take some kind of trip as a family. And then the fall, I intentionally try to take, one or two hunting trips of different things. So last year, spearing off my health goals of being able to hike more and really get after it more in the woods, we did an eagle cap elk hunt, which turned into, it was fun. Like, I really enjoyed the hiking. I think we did a couple days that were just brutal, sunrise to sunset, just hiking and climbing and through just nastiness and chasing elk. And it was fun. Didn't kill an elk because, the wolf situation up in the Eagle Caps was much worse than the last time I was there in 2016. I mean, I should have shot the elk that came in that we called in opening morning, but it was opening morning. I didn't have a huge sense of urgency, and he kind of got on top of me before I was ready. But we called in a 5x5 to 25 yards. Caleb called him in, and I was set up, but I didn't have a good shot. And then he winded me and wheeled out, and I couldn't get him ranged again when he stopped. Anyway, it was just kind of calamity of errors, but it was opening morning. So I was like, oh, of course, this is going to be easy. This is going to be fun. We're going to call 3 more elk in today. What was the only bull we called in for the next 7 days? We found elk. We were in elk. We found fresh sign constantly, but it seemed like every time we found a decent group of elk and got in, somewhere close to them or seen them, like they got busted by wolves before we could do anything with it. It was frustrating, but it was still fun. It was a big victory to be able to spend that many hard days in the field physically and enjoy it. Came home. Then a couple weeks later, went back over on a mule deer hunt, which was a lot of fun. So, no, this was here in Oregon.
Oh, that was okay.
Tag soup in Idaho. I bought a tag for over there, but didn't good. 2 trips was enough.
Yeah.
But we did that. We did the mule deer hunt, and the weather just wasn't good. I mean, we were finding a lot of deer. I think I glassed up probably 100 deer in 3 days. The first 3 days we were there,
Oh
which
wow,
is good numbers
that's
for
a lot. Yeah,
a year.
more than I saw this past season.
But
Jeez.
there was no mature bucks. I could not find a mature buck. So we had 3 or 4 more days to hunt, but we both, myself and the guy who I was hunting with, we decided that if we get an opportunity, it's something that to put some meat in the freezer. That both of us were like, would rather go spend this last few days of vacation with our families.
Yeah,
So we ended up punching tags on a couple of meat bucks and headed home. I mean, it's 85 degrees during the day and bluebird, no wind, no weather, like nothing to get deer moving. Those big bucks were in bed before the sun even came up. So
yeah.
it was frustrating, but it was fun. I mean, it was a good hunt, and just it really kind of solidified the tactics for finding deer in that open country, where we get up on ridges, we get up on vantage points at first light and sunset, and just glass and spend hours behind the glass finding deer. And then when you find something you want to go after, you put a stock on it and hopefully go shoot it.
Nice.
So, but other than that, this year was I don't know. Your year was more exciting this year than mine. You had
20, well, yeah, no, 2022 was a huge year for me on a bunch of different fronts. And it is funny because it goes back to the goal setting stuff. Like, so on, on a very long fuse, I don't know when the idea popped into my head, but somewhere along the line, I had told myself when I'm 30 for my 30th birthday present to myself, I want to go on a high volume dove hunt in Argentina. And I'd never been down to South America like that. I'd never done an international, hunting trip at that time. I had never done that. And so lo and behold, I helped start a chapter of Delta Waterfowl out here. We're the high desert chapter of Delta Waterfowl in Central Oregon. And we have these banquets and we start hosting these banquets. And I end up seeing that we have an opportunity to bid on a trip for 4 people to go on a high volume dove, duck, and fishing trip down in Santa Fe, Argentina. And so it's pennies on the dollar for what it normally costs. And so I buy it. And so I bought it when I was 31. And this past year, just before my 32nd-ish birthday or whatever, however old I am, I was able to go out with my mom, my fiance's father on a 10-day trip down to Argentina where 5 days were dove hunting, the most amazing wing shooting I've ever experienced in my entire life, and then got them on piranhas and dorado and all kinds of
you're
wild
gonna,
fish.
you're gonna put some photos. We're gonna put some
Oh
photos
yeah, we'll
for
put photos, a little video. Maybe we'll throw
yeah,
that stuff in there and put it online. But I mean, everything from the food to the wine to the people. Being in Buenos Aires, Buenos Aires is like New York City and Paris had a baby. If you have an opportunity to go, cannot recommend it enough. And it was one of those bucket list trips that I had always fantasized about. But in 2022, it came to fruition. And my mom is, like I said before, a Quaker pacifist, not into hunting, not into guns, anything. By day 2, she was shooting ducks on the wing. She was fishing. She was doing all of this stuff, eating steak with us that she, normally not a big steak person. It was so cool. And it was a great opportunity for me to share, like in its purest form, my love for fishing and wing shooting specifically with people that I really care about and facilitate an experience that was so far and beyond what most people get to do on the weekends, driving out to BLM or forest ground or something or a national forest. It was so beyond that. And it helps that you're being greeted with warm wet towels and a cocktail when you come back from the duck blind, or if you don't really want to go that day, you can order a massage, like that really helps soften any of the potential blows. But it was absolutely amazing. And and I grew up doing mostly fishing and bird hunting. Big game was a real no-go in my family. There was always conversations I had with my parents about, don't you feel bad about wanting to shoot a deer? And then quite honestly, I was like, not really. I don't. I don't want to hurt it. I don't want it to suffer, but like it doesn't really like it's something I want to try. And so I've spent past, realistically almost past 9 years increasing my big game hunting skills. And I've killed some big game, but not stateside. I'm lucky enough to have some friends that guide in the northern territories of BC and have taken me up, and guys that were in Arizona cowboying and guiding that helped me learn. But this past year, I won a bow at a auction, and I gave myself the goal to just get as good with it as I possibly could, just shoot, 10 yards at least 10 times every day, just to even just be able to hit something. And I built my skill set up from about spring into fall. And I took general archery tags this year, called in my first bull ever to like friggin' inches. I mean, it felt like
Oh no, we got to slow down. You got to tell this story.
okay. So I'm hunting about an hour from my house out here, and I'm hunting by myself, and I've never done archery season. I don't know really how to call elk. I've watched some YouTube videos, but I've been knowing people in my neighborhood, like all of that kind of stuff. And so I go out, and I don't know what day of the hunt season it was, but all of a sudden I'm making little mew sounds and bugling, and I hear my first bugle response ever in my hunting career. And of course, my blood rushes to my face. I'm all excited. Adrenaline kicks in, and I get into these thick kind of pine trees, and I keep calling, and I'm not really sure what to do. I'm just watching my wind, trying to figure it out. And I get this bull to come in with about 25 yards. And at some point, he kind of gets buggered up, and he's kind of stuck there. And so I'm like, yeah, like screaming and stuff, and he's kind of uncertain. The wind swirls, he smells me, and he runs. I'm like, dang, okay, that was cool, but let's try that again. So the next day, I go back to the same area, hoping that I didn't screw anything up too badly. And I immediately pick up trail on a couple cow elk, and I follow them up this hillside through some manzanita to this kind of volcanic rock outcropping type thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, well, I'll start glassing and see if I see anything. And as soon as I do, I take my binos and I look through these trees. And within seconds, this cow elk comes out like 20 yards, turns, we both make eye contact. She goes, whoa. And I go, whoa. She runs away. And I'm like, dang it. And the wind is just ripping, blowing straight into my face. And I'm like, well, the wind's right. They were here. Maybe there's something else. So I follow their trail a little bit down the hill, and I get to like kind of another ledge, and I go, well, screw it. I'm going to just give a bugle. So I rip this mean, loud, as much as I can muster type bugle. And within an instant, 300, 400 yards away, I hear this bull just scream out. And so again, my adrenaline through the friggin' roof. And I try to cut the distance. So I'm like, well, I got to like get down a little bit lower to where I can get a shot. Come crashing through this manzanita. And for some reason, there was a stump that was probably like 4 or 5 feet wide in like this circular pattern. Like it was a perfect blind. I was like, this is insane. So I get on the stump and I give another bugle, and then the bull is like 20 yards to my right. And he screams again. I'm freaking out. So I'm like knock an arrow, lie down really low. I drop back, and I'm like laying down as low as I can. I can hear him, you know, uh, scraping his antlers, racking back and forth, huffing, getting all, macho and stuff. And he comes around within a yard or two. Maybe if it was farther, it was 5. Like it is like I could almost jump on him and like ride him around kind of thing. Uh, and so I get up, and I'm at full draw. I'm anchored. I'm doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, and I can only see his antlers. I can't see his top line. It's a little 4x4, but it's still my first elk. All of that kind of stuff. And he comes around. I don't have a body shot, and he turns, and then he turns and faces me, and I have a head and neck shot at like very, very close. And I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. and I put my pin where I think I should put my pin, and I release, and nothing happens. The arrow just flies off to the side. And unbeknownst to me at the time, there had been a manzanita branch, and the arrow hit the manzanita branch and just flew off into oblivion. And the elk is like, What was that?" And he kind of goes, and then he runs away. And I melted. I melted. I was like, "What happened? What went wrong? I'm looking for blood. Did I maim this poor guy? What did I do?" None of that. It really just hit a branch and flew off the opposite direction. So it was,
Bow
I,
hunting
it's
101.
bow hunting. So that was a huge deal. I ended up shooting a deer at the end of season. It was my first deer ever, first bow kill ever, and that was really special. But having the interaction with the elk like that, learning how I can mess up, how tedious some of this archery hunting stuff is, watching the animals react to the calls, not knowing what I'm doing, trying my best, screwing up, not screwing up. I don't know where I was on the spectrum of good to bad. It just was an amazing experience and learning opportunity.
I wouldn't be surprised if I go my whole life without having an elk at 3 or 5 yards like you just had. So it was pretty
And
cool.
missed.
Who cares about that part?
That was
It was
learning.
insane. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can honestly say so. I've killed a couple deer with my bow, one at 56 yards and the other was at like 49. So I have no concept of like a 20-yard shot with my bow in the real world. Like I just
Yeah.
have never had that opportunity on an elk or a deer. I think I killed a deer with a rifle though at like 20 yards. Go figure. Anyway, yeah, I did one time, like 20 yards away with a rifle. Go
That's wild.
so anyway, what else? What else?
Well, before I've been talking a lot. You have 2023. You have something on the docket that I'm very jealous about. That I would love to hear more about, and I'm sure people listening would like to as well.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit exciting for me. So this year, I was not. This was not on the radar until a few days ago. But a friend of mine invited me to go on a Alaskan caribou hunt out in the tundra, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be that kind of iconic. I think get basically dropped off by a plane in the middle of the tundra and bivvy camp for a week. And he killed a bull last year with his bow up there, so he knows the area. And I'm just excited. I tell you what, the 5 days a week of working out is become a new priority for me because the country's rough.
Yeah.
Walking through the tundra and the mountains that you can end up there and packing out meat. If I don't know how many miles we will be from start to finish. I don't know how many miles we'll put on the trip, but I'm mentally prepared for a lot and a lot of elevation and a lot of nasty, muddy tundra swamp. But it'll be fun. I'm really excited. I'm trying not to get too excited about it because I know. No, I mean,
I'll be excited for you.
okay.
I'll be really excited for you.
I will be shooting my bow a lot. It's kind of interesting. We potentially will be bow hunting, but also rifle hunting at the same time because of how the boundaries lay for where the open areas for rifle versus archery. If you're I think it's 5 miles or closer to a road. This is my general understanding, but I haven't studied this yet. Is archery, and 5 miles or more is rifle. So if we're on that line or closer, we find caribou in that 5 mile range, we'll be stick and string. If we find them beyond that, well, I think they'll be in trouble.
Get ready. Get ready. Put all those miles to good use.
But I'm super excited about that. And previously, so this year I'd already had 2 hunting trips planned. I'm really excited. So this last year I was just kind of dismayed with the wolf situation, the hunting management in some of the units in Northeast Oregon. And so I kind of had a mental shift in how I wanted to do some of my Oregon hunting, and it became a lot more family based. So this year, I talked with my wife, and we decided that we're going to go ahead and make like a family camping trip our archery trip in September.
Yeah.
I don't know what dates we're going to take off yet. Probably second week or something. Probably go over not too far. Maybe Strawberry Mountain Wilderness or somewhere in that range, not too far away.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hunt hard in the mornings probably. And I'm assuming we'll end up with a couple more families in the group that are going to go over. And then in the afternoons, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to hang out with the kids. I'm going to take the kids road hunting for deer. I'm going to just have fun, eat good food, and just enjoy the time. So hunt hard in the mornings and do that for a week, and then come home. And then I'm really excited that my buddy Dan and Mike Lacer and I are going to Idaho in October. So
Oh man, yeah.
we'll have mule deer tags up in the Sawtooth Wilderness area on the eastern side. And then we should have some elk tags too, but we got to put in for those. But the draw should go in our favor. At least one of us should have an elk tag.
Wow.
So we'll have that'll be fun. I hunted just to the east of there in 2021 and killed a buck, enjoyed the trip. But I'm looking forward to going back over there in 10 times better shape physically and just with a whole different fire burning. Like that was fortunate that I killed, a 4x4 on that trip because we were still in scouting mode. We stumbled on him and I killed him.
Nice.
And then on that trip, my side-by-side broke down the next day. So I basically spent like another 3 or 4 days of just kind of vacationing in the Sun Valley area while sleeping in a tent because I couldn't afford to stay anywhere in town. But waiting for the side-by-side to hopefully get fixed. That never did get fixed. Well, my buddy was out hunting off his four-wheeler. So that trip was a little bit challenging, but I'm really looking forward to going back over there. We'll be meeting up with my good friend Jake, who lives over there in Idaho as well. He's a hunting fool. He killed a nice buck this last year, and he was part of killing a moose, and they killed a couple of elk in his group. Yeah,
nice.
was pretty cool, I guess.
If everything goes well this year, you stand to have a lot of cool stuff in the freezer.
Potentially
a lot of cool stuff going
I don't
on.
know what caribou tastes like, but I'm looking forward to finding out. I love the deer and the elk meat. I just ran out of elk the other day from my 21 elk, and so I've got a little bit of deer left, and got to fix that.
Right? Yeah. Start prepping for
super
season.
excited. But I'm also, the fun thing about this is like all the lead up to getting ready to go. Like I'm trying to hike this year, like do 1 8-mile hike, like ruck every week.
Yeah.
In addition to some circuit workouts and some upper and lower body training. All of it's geared though towards like, it's not the Mountain Tough program that you've done before, but it's similar, just a lot of body weight training, a lot of just things that prepare you for being up in the mountains and climbing and descending and all of that. And I'm just looking forward to just having these goals towards the end of the year to work forward, work towards. And couple of the guys and I are going to try to shoot long range at least every 6 weeks or so. Go out and spend a day working up working up more data, so we're a lot more proficient with the longer range game. My goal this year, hopefully when I get the 300 put together, that's about that 300 PRC that I'm looking forward to getting set up.
Another thing I'm jealous about.
That's going to be fun. But I'm looking forward to hopefully being ethical, out to 700-800 yards, which means being able to hit steel at, pretty consistently at 1,200-1,400, something. I really don't feel like I killed the one buck 2 years ago with Mike with his gun at the 900 yards, and that kind of just blew my mind when it came to the long range shooting game. And that's a long poke. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a ways out there
to get that good. But what I've consistently found is I get within that 600 to 800 yards range on just about any game. The topography allows for it and everything. Like you can generally close the distance to that 600 yard mark. But a lot of times you end up stuck and you can't get closer without, all the eyes looking at you, different things. So that's kind of what I've set my goal at this year, is to be like hunting ethically proficient at 600 to 800 yards with either of my hunting rifles. And obviously that's going to take some load development time. It's going to take some just hours in the field of learning to read wind better and learning how to use the technology correctly. Using the applied ballistics program is a game changer for me. And that's one of the books I have slated for this year, is to go through Brian Litz's long range. I forget the modern advancements in long range shooting book. He's got like 4 or 5 of them. It is a data dump. Like it hurts my brain to that. Like I'm like, oh my goodness, we're talking Coriolis effect and spin drift and all these other things. I'm like, okay, hold on. I need the what is that? The Windows for Dummies book that they
applied ballistics.
I need the long range shooting for dummies book. But no, I'm enjoying it. It's just another thing to learn. And obviously this year shooting my bow a whole bunch, getting ready for the 2 different archery opportunities. Last year I shot a lot more. I shot the Northwest Mountain Challenge, which, man, if you have time in June, you got to join us.
Oh man, I'd love to. I need to start practicing a little bit more. I've been off the bow train for about a month. I need to get back on it.
Dude, I've been off the bow train since September. So
okay, I don't feel as bad.
But yeah, the Northwest Mountain Challenge is coming up, and I think Wes is going to go. Mike might go, but JC and I shot that last year. That was like one of the funnest weekends I had all year. So that's over at Hoodoo, which is your backyard.
Oh yeah.
Set up the 3D archery course, for those of you who don't know, on the side of a ski slope, basically. So like one of the courses, like they have these sarcastic signs as you're starting it, and it's the elevation course. Like, are you ready to walk 6 miles? Are you ready to climb 2,200 feet? Are you ready to, like, all these different things as you're walking up, and you're like, man, I hope I'm ready for this. And this year, of course, we had that super wet and cold. So we still had like berms of snow up there. And the first morning we shot this elevation course, like it was all dreary, and like we were having a hard time even getting our rangefinders to work because it was so foggy. The fog was coming and going. So we shot at this one bear, like as a group, like 4 different times, 4 different shooters. I had no idea we figured out it ended up being 70 yards.
Oh wow.
But I shot it for 60. And then my buddy shot it for like 80 and shot over it. I don't know. It was just like, it was real world fun. And like, we're walking across this one like barren face, and we can barely see like in front of us. And all I know is the wind's blowing like 20 miles an hour. We're on this like, what is the pumice rock? All the
like, that really fine.
Yeah. We're like walking across this trail, and I'm like sliding down the mountain. I'm like, man, if I get going, I'm not going to stop for like 400 or 500 feet. I'm like, this feels so realistic, and this is just an archery shoot. This is fun. But just doing things like that throughout the year, and the fellowship and the friendships that come from hunting, and then obviously looking forward to doing some more of the USPSA stuff.
We need to get you out here for those again. Yeah,
I want to shoot. So I think we're committed to shooting the one here in April, as long as they don't cancel the match.
Oh, perfect.
The church security group, I talked them all into doing it.
Nice.
I want to do that one, but then I'd love to get over at least a couple times to Bend and shoot with you guys.
Yeah, let's wait for the snow to melt a little bit. It's still, the past few shoots have been fairly chilly, to say the least. Yeah.
No, it'll just like, that's this year. I'm just looking forward to doing that, and yeah, it'll be fun. What's on your agenda this year?
Not upsetting Erica with my hunting schedule that close. Main goal.
Hey, you're getting married in October.
I know. And in hindsight, no, but Erica's been really sweet about it. She goes, well, what we could do is, if you're going to be hunting some years, maybe we just get married at the courthouse, and then we have the ceremony, and then whatever date in the summertime we'll be fine. I'm like, actually, it's not a bad idea. Give us a little bit of anniversary cushion. But no, I'm, to be honest, with everything that's going on the business side to the wedding side and everything in between, I'm probably going to do general archery for deer and elk this year. We just rounded out waterfowl season, so our last kind of hunting weekend was a week or so ago, and it'll mostly just be getting my bow skills up. I'm starting to stack up some points, so I think doing another point saver and buying, just getting some over the counter general tags will be my speed this year. Short of something else that comes down the pike. A buddy of mine is going down to Argentina again in March, and he invited me to go. I don't think I'll be joining on that one.
Oh,
I think I know. Well, it's like Erica was
you
pretty
went
funny.
to SHOT Show, so come on.
I did go to SHOT Show. That was the first. So
Gosh, you just came back a few days ago.
that is true. Yeah, no, I just came back. So one of my friends from gunsmithing
Tell us
school,
what the SHOT Show is for a second before
before I launch. Yeah. For people that don't know, so SHOT Show is a really large firearm outdoor industry convention held in Las Vegas. It's in other cities sometimes, but this year was in Las Vegas. And it's one of those, it's kind of an invitation only. You have to be a gunsmith, you have to be a firearm professional, you have to be in the outdoor world, you have to be a guide. If you have a company that makes gear, you can be included, but it's definitely a tighter knit circle than I was previously exposed to at things like the Sportsman Show here in Oregon or SCI, Safari Club International. But basically, it's everything that's new and awesome in the world from the shooting perspective, the military perspective, the outdoor gear perspective. I mean, if you're a data nerd, a gear nerd, a gunhead, whatever, what bow person, it's all there. And I mean, it takes up city blocks. So it's one of those things where it's a 5-day event. You will not be able to see it in 5 days. And it was my first time going out there. And I got invited by some friends of mine through my gunsmithing and guiding connections. And I got to hang out with all of these really cool dudes that run the gun sight facility in Paulden, Arizona.
really?
Oh yeah, no, one of the premier gunfighting schools, personal defense schools, from everything from handguns to rifles to shotguns, long range, lever actions.
One of the biggest names in the country for training.
Yeah. So, my buddy trains them. I've been to gun sight. I haven't taken any of their courses, but I've been to gun sight several times and got to really hang out with kind of the people that are running the show over there now. But it was just a cool crew to be running around with at the show because of the knowledge base that they have. But also they've been there before. They've been going there for years and years and years. And it was my first time. So they're definitely like, kid, just go run around. So I got to see futuristic Benelli concept designs with white stock separated.
That was outrageous.
Oh, it's insane. It looks like something out of Star Wars. Battle buggies that the military uses with mounted, belt-fed stuff. A family friend of mine is the VP of marketing and sales for U.S. Ordnance, and I got to sit in while he was doing kind of a demo on all the M60 variants for some foreign defense groups that are looking to purchase those. So it was everything. I did a model shoot for this company called Proper. They do all of the BDUs and stuff like that. I got to run into those guys out there. So it was this real grab bag of everything that I'm into. And if you have an opportunity, find somebody's Instagram handle that you like that relates to guns, and I'm sure they're going to have everything that they're interested in. But you can go online and see all the stuff that's new and what was at SHOT Show. But I think this year, the main consensus was there wasn't a whole lot of brand new tech that really lit everybody up. Everybody I talked to, they enjoyed it, but there just wasn't anything that really stood out as like a latest and greatest innovation. It's a lot of improvements on similar systems, what from the gun world to the car world to whatever. But as like a first time SHOT Show attendee, my eyes were as big as dinner plates the entire time I was walking around. It was overwhelming at best, but I'm looking forward to going again. I'm now that I'm in their system, I can go again, and so it's something that I'm really looking forward to participating more in and maintaining those connections and getting a better feel for as time goes on.
We need to take a marketing trip there next year, right?
I was going to say, yeah, we could do a little marketing out there. Yeah, just a little bit.
Wear the logos. It's a tax write-off. Anybody in the team asks,
Yeah, it's a networking event.
we're working.
Yeah, we're working it. Absolutely. No, it was really cool, and you'd get a kick out of it. And yeah, I should have taken more photos and video. I was a little too.
Leave all my cards at home.
Oh man,
before
yeah.
Come
You
back.
can't buy a lot while you're there, but you definitely could you could have conversations that would lead to purchase. I'll tell you now. I will tell you now. But yeah, it was incredible. It was a really, really good time.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll look forward to connecting, this year on these different things. We've got next week. We'll talk about our February adventure, or before we take off on it. We've got a fun adventure coming up later this month that we got invited on. That's kind of unexpected, out of the blue, but we get to go shoot some stuff at a cool facility, and we get to talk about it next time.
Yeah, that's on the docket for our next podcast, number 3.
Yes, absolutely. Well, how are you supposed to wrap up these podcasts? You're supposed to say goodbye and leave?
You can say goodbye and leave, but I think with everything we covered, our encouragement is live intentionally.
Absolutely. Live intentionally. Spend some self-reflection time. I hate that. Introspection time, self-reflection. Just, do that, and don't neglect the enjoyment that comes from doing things that you're passionate about. Don't let it rule your life and all consume you, but allow it to have its rightful place in life. If you're doing a good job, with your family, you're doing a good job with your business, you're doing those other things well, like, you should also be blocking in time to enjoy and have fun. I think this year I maxed out my fun quota. I don't think I can add any more fun things to the year with the things I already have scheduled at an early time. But make sure you're blocking out the family time, make sure you're blocking out, the time for fellowship and all the other things that are important. That's just my encouragement to everybody that I see lately. And I just relationships, they're so important. Like, stop chasing things that are not as important in life. Like, do the important things. So anyway.
Yeah, you never know where those relationships will take you. It might take you to Argentina, could take you to SHOT Show. You just never know.
Alaska.
Or Alaska. Oh man.
So
well, thank you all so much for listening to us. Those of you that are watching, thank you. And Chris, it's always a pleasure getting to sit with you and talk about really important stuff, and at the same time talk about really fun stuff, which is equally important.
Absolutely. And we eventually we'll start talking about real estate a little bit in this at some point. Yeah,
we'll warm up to it. We'll hone in on it.
Yeah. I think next week we'll talk about more of the adventure stuff that's coming up. But maybe we should spend some time and get some feedback from some people about some real estate topics that might be in our wheelhouse to help answer some water rights and use.
Do a bit of a deeper dive than most people, I think, would have access to. I think that would be fun.
Yeah. Well, those are on the radar. They're on the agenda.
Coming up in the pipeline.
So thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here. We'll sign off.
See you later. Thanks, Chris.